Most Americans know the man by the pillow. A pillow you've seen on television thousands of times. A pillow that somehow turned a former addict into a multimillionaire. A pillow that turned a small-town businessman into a political lightning rod. And a pillow that would eventually cost its creator almost everything. His name is Mike Lindell. And this is the rest of the story. Long before the television commercials, before the patriotic music, before the warehouse full of foam, there was a boy growing up in Minnesota, born in 1961, raised in a modest household, not rich, not poor, but ordinary, painfully ordinary. Mike was the kind of kid who always had a new idea, but rarely had the patience to finish it. He tried college, briefly. He tried work, repeatedly. And like many restless young men with big dreams, he bounced from job to job, bar owner, carpet cleaner, lunch wagon operator, even pig farmer. Some ventures worked, most did not. But while his businesses came and went, another habit quickly moved in. First it was alcohol, then cocaine, and eventually crack cocaine. Addiction does not arrive all at once. It creeps in, quietly, patiently. And by the 1990s, Mike Lindell was not merely a businessman. He was an addict. Friends say there were nights when he would disappear for days. His marriage, of course, collapsed. His finances collapsed. And the man who once chased entrepreneurial dreams was now chasing something else entirely. But sometimes the most unlikely moment produces the most unlikely idea. For Mike Lindell, that moment came in the middle of the night. He was tossing and turning, pillows sliding off the bed, lumpy, flat, useless. And somewhere between frustration and exhaustion, the thought appeared. What if a pillow could actually hold its shape? What if it could support your head and your neck, no matter how you slept? It was 2004, and the idea would become MyPillow. Now, here is something most people don't realize. The pillow business is a very good business. Foam and fiberfill are inexpensive. Manufacturing is simple. Shipping is light, and retail markups can be enormous. Industry insiders estimate that many pillows costing $10 to produce can sell for $60. Sometimes more. Margins like that turn small ideas into very large companies. But first, someone has to sell them, and Mike Lindell could sell. He started small, state fairs, mall kiosks, trade shows. He would stand there hour after hour demonstrating his pillow, folding it, rolling it, punching it, and fluffing it back to life. At first, people laughed, but they also bought. And then the television came calling. Mike didn't hire an actor. He didn't hire a spokesman. He stepped in front of the camera himself, mustache, cross necklace, Minnesota accent and all, and the commercials ran constantly. Morning news, late night news, weekend sports, and suddenly America knew his face. MyPillow exploded. Distribution spread to thousands of retailers. Factories expanded. Warehouses multiplied. And within a decade, the company was reportedly generating hundreds of millions in annual sales. But the most remarkable part of Mike Lindell's story was not the pillow. It was the moment he says his addictions ended. In 2009, after years of substance abuse, he said he prayed, and something changed. Friends say he simply stopped. Cold turkey. No rehab, no relapse, no turning back. He credits his faith. And whether one believes in miracles or not, the transformation was undeniable. From that moment forward, Mike Lindell spoke openly about God, about redemption, about second chances, and he began hiring people other companies often avoided, recovery addicts, former prisoners, Men and women trying to rebuild their lives. He believed if somebody gave them a second chance, if somebody gave him a second chance, he should give others the same. And many of those employees remain fiercely loyal to him today. By the mid-2010s, Mike Lindell had become something few entrepreneurs ever achieve. A household name. A rags to riches success story, an American comeback tale. But history teaches us something. When business and politics collide, things change. And in 2016, Mike Lindell entered the political arena, not as a candidate, but as a supporter. He publicly backed Donald Trump, appearing at rallies, visiting the White House, speaking openly about his administration. And for some customers, that loyalty was admirable, but for others, it was unforgivable. But the real storm arrived later in 2020. The presidential election came and went, and what followed was one of the most divisive political moments in modern American history. Mike Lindell became convinced that the election had been stolen, not quietly convinced, publicly convinced, passionately convinced. He funded investigations, produced documentaries, held press conferences, spoke in interviews across the country. To his supporters, he was a man standing for what he believed. But to his critics, he was, quote unquote, spreading misinformation. The consequences were swift. Major retailers began pulling MyPillow products from their shelves. Advertisers, partners walked away. Credit lines tightened. Lawsuits appeared. And the business empire built on foam pillows suddenly found itself in a very uncomfortable position. Mike Lindell says his company lost hundreds of millions in revenue. Some employees were laid off. Operations shrank. The man once celebrated as a comeback entrepreneur became one of the most polarizing figures in American business. Yet even now, he refused to retreat. He still appears on television, still promotes his products, still insists he will not back down. Supporters call it courage, and critics call it stubbornness. But either way, it has defined the final chapter of the MyPillow story. And so what remains was Mike Lindell, a visionary entrepreneur, a man redeemed from addiction, a loyal political ally, or a businessman who stepped too far into the world of politics? History will decide, but one thing is certain. Few American stories contain so many twists: addiction, faith, fortune, politics, and controversy, all wrapped up in something as simple as a pillow. Because sometimes the softest product can carry the hardest consequences. And now you know the story behind the man, behind the pillow, Mike Lindell, a man who rose from addiction to build a household brand and then stepped into a storm that may never pass. And whether history judges him hero, villain, or something in between, that complicated journey is what makes it the rest of the story. I banker you. Good day. Thank you for watching all the way to the end. As always, take care of yourselves and each other and build that stack.